Okay, we're about to give away some super secret data, super secret information that I've been using for years to help people plan big marketing campaigns, uh, uh, inventory allocation, new product launches, retailer and like location and system expansion. This is going to be really good information. If you're in a situation where you are selling a product in hundreds or thousands of locations, whether that's consumer packaged goods or you're in like the restaurant industry and you've got a business with hundreds of restaurants, this is going to be really valuable because I'm going to show you how to pull all of this awesome trade area data that I talk about all the time and that I have been using for the past, I don't know how many years, to help people plan big strategic objectives. Okay. So in this video, we're going to talk about the core data source that I use and how to access that source. There are some other sources that I use, which we'll talk about in future videos. And I'm actually going to show you how to physically pull this data, how to get your data ready, how to access the data that's in these services, and then how to clean that up so you can actually use it in analysis or reporting on the back end. But this video is just going to be about the source and where to start hunting for the data. We can't cover the polling part in this video because it'd be way too long. Okay, I have this Google Doc out here. If you want access to it, shoot me a DM on LinkedIn and I will give you access to it. I'm going to be updating this document as the videos cruise along. So it'll have links to documentation, links to sources where you can get this data, as well as the code you'll use to actually pull the data, and the processes and all the detail will be wrapped up in this one document. Okay. So our first source that we're going to talk about is a company called Esri. Okay. This is a geospatial analytics company, and they do a lot of stuff, a lot of really awesome stuff. If you're in the geospatial realm, you already know about them. They're the big player there. But Esri offers this service that a lot of people don't use called geo enrichment. And this is the core data source where anybody who accesses this has access to literally thousands of trade area variables. Okay. And I'm going to show you what these are. But imagine drawing a 3 or 5 mile radius around every location you sell product through. So if you sell in Walmart, or you're a big, you're a franchisee of a restaurant and you've got hundreds of locations, draw a 3 mile radius or a 5 mile radius around every one of those locations and pull back data about the people in that trade area, as well as the landscape of that trade area. Okay, we're not going to talk about weather in this video because I pulled that from a different source, which I'll do in a future video. But by landscape, I mean like the actual landscape, soil, water storage, evapotranspiration, that type of stuff. Okay, all of that data is available at your fingertips, and it's not that hard to pull. Okay, so Esri Geo Enrichment is your first source we're going to talk about. There are links in here to this, and the first link here goes to this analysis variable finder. And this is a tool offered by Esri that lets you hunt for the data that you're actually wanting to use. Because, I mean, when I say thousands, I mean thousands. There's thousands of attributes that you can pull. And they've done a good job here of kind of organizing it into categories so you can kind of dig in and find what you need. But if you come into here to this Data Explorer, you've got these categories here. So if you're looking for something as simple as population, like, hey, I just need to know the total population in a 3 mile radius around every one of my locations I sell product through. That can be 100 locations or it can be 10,000. It doesn't matter. It's right here. 2023 total population. If you hover over this little icon next to any one of these data points, you get this pop-up that gives you the definition of what that data point is. And then Esri also has other documentation on their website that breaks apart where their data comes from, how it's structured, like how it's proportioned and allocated across the US or the radius that you're pulling. All of that stuff is available if you have questions about it. But it's just right there. But there's a lot of other population data available. So if I did that kind of fast. So if I come in here to population, I click this show all population variables. Now I have a view into all 515 variables that Esri provides that have something to do with population. And you notice a few things here, right? So I've got a bunch of historical data. So like I can go back to 2010. I've also got future projections for 2028, as well as this year and some prior years as well. So we just looked at top line population, which is inside this key demographic indicators drop down. So I click that little arrow and I see my total population line item there, but I've also got like household population, family population, population density, the growth rate of population, which I use a lot. But there's more. So like I want, maybe daytime population. Daytime population is a measure of how many people are in the trade area during the day, which accounts for the working population that travels into the trade area, as well as the working population that travels out. So this tends to be really valuable as well, because you will see resident population and daytime population be very different in some areas, which, you know, again, if you're planning on population, you need to account for stuff like that. That data is here available for you. What if age is important, right? So this group here breaks down age total population in 5-year increments of age. So like if I was targeting a really tight age bracket, 40 to 55 or 45 to 65, I may only be interested in that age bracket and not the rest of the population in the trade area. Because something I've experienced a lot is you will see drastic differences trade area to trade area in age percentages. And like you'll have some trade areas that skew much older and some trade areas that skew much younger. This can be really valuable if your targeting is based on that, whether it's understanding sales of your product or planning marketing campaigns or allocating inventory. All of that stuff factors in here. So you can break it down by age, but you can also break down, and there it is. You can also break down that age population, male versus female, right? So in the shopping space, we're targeting females a lot because they make a lot of the purchasing decisions. Well, your female population breakdown is here as well. Okay. So I'm using population because that's like an easy thing to kind of understand, but this style of data, this structure is consistent across all of these data sets. Okay. So like let's go to something else. You can see there's all kinds of stuff in here: income, housing, health, education, spending, psychographics, behaviors. Behaviors is always kind of cool. You can see like what people are doing, right? So this comes from a bunch of survey data. And it gets extremely detailed, like the restaurants people are going to, how much they're spending at those restaurants, travel characteristics, the media they're consuming, groceries that they're buying, all kinds of stuff. If you like, there's good poverty data in here, if that's a factor in your world. The psychographic data tends to be really interesting. I mean, you can even find like people who have participated in golf in the last 12 months or people who have played volleyball in the last 6 months. Like all of this stuff, depending on the product that you're selling or the type of consumer you're targeting. You know, if you're targeting like a more health conscious consumer, you can find a lot of health conscious consumer type data in here to define that little segment in your trade areas to understand the trade areas that are heavier or lighter with that consumer segment. On the topic of consumer segments, Esri also offers this consumer segmentation called Tapestry. I think, do I have this up? It is a link in here. Yeah. So this link here gives you all of the detail on Esri's Tapestry segmentation. There's 67 distinct segments inside this segmentation. Okay. And they get very, very detailed. And then they roll them up to like, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 kind of top line segments that have multiple segments within them. Like here's a good example. This Life Mode 1 Affluent Estates is made up of 5 individual Tapestry segments. So this gets really valuable because you can actually pull this this Tapestry segmentation data segment by segment. So you know the number of people in every single trade area associated with every single segment. It's a lot of data, but the real value of that is being able to define percentages. What we get at the challenge that we get into when we're talking about segmentation is we always default to the dominant segment in a market. And what you'll get back is like a segmentation. It's like, okay, well, this market is this segment and this market is this segment, but it's never like that. That's not reality. Every market, every trade area is made up of a lot of different segments of people. Esri gives you the ability to actually figure that out. And so I use this tapestry segment stuff all the time, and it tends to always be really valuable because you can define what percentage of every segment is inside that trade area. You will see drastic differences trade area to trade area, which then if you're correlating that to sales to understand better or worse behavior, you will find really good insights that you can then use to plan the future, allocating marketing dollars, allocating sales resources, inventory, menu items, all kinds of stuff can be planned based on this. Okay. So there's a couple links in here on the tapestry segmentation. This PDF here breaks it down for you and kind of gives you a more visual view of all of the life mode groups, which are the top line segments, and then all of the individual segments underneath. But then you can, like, if you find that, okay, this, savvy suburbanite segment's really important to me, I can also get a profile on what that segment is made up of. Okay, so that's the Data Explorer. Hop out here, tinker around, start thinking about the data that might be valuable to you. Each one of these has hundreds of attributes inside them that you can just dig into. But there's also this data collection finder, which is another link right here in this Google Doc. This data collection finder are collections of that more detailed data we looked at just a second ago in that Explorer. So a collection is, so if we come in here, we select 2023 and I click on let's find one. Let's look at, how about food? So this gives me, this is hundreds of variables at least, of all of the food related data inside this enrichment service. So like, I'm just looking at the top stuff here, like alcoholic beverages index. I'd have to look in to see what that metric is, but I bet it's going to give you an index. So of all the trade areas you're pulling, anything over 1 is over indexed. Anything under 1 is under indexed on probably purchases of alcoholic beverages, right? So if you're in that space, that's probably a pretty valuable metric to have access to. But if we scroll down here, we're looking at it gets so detailed, like lamb and other meat, poultry, whole chickens, tea, sports drinks, sugar, candy, margarine. It's just crazy the amount of data that's in here and what they've done here. This service is so valuable. So that's like a data collection. So when we get to the step where we're actually pulling the data, instead of having to go in and say, oh, geez, I really need all these food related variables. There's thousands of them. I got to take forever to build out this query. I can actually just query this food collection and get all this data in one shot. Okay. Again, we're going to talk about some efficiency as we get deeper into these videos, and you're benefiting from me stumbling through this over the last however many years. But yeah, this is Esri, okay? So in this Google Doc, you've got links to the two things I just showed you. I've also thrown a link in here to what we'll talk about in the next video, which is how I actually pull the data. I pull it through Esri's REST API. There's a couple ways to pull this data. There's another way that I used to use, which is quite a bit more inefficient and more expensive, but it does not require code. I'm not going to show you that because I'm actually going to give you a Jupyter notebook that you can run or have someone on your team run and pull it that way, because it's much faster and it's much more cost efficient to do it this way. If you need help with any of this stuff, shoot me a DM. This is one of the services Magnetic offers. We also do a bunch of analysis on top of this data, which is really where the real value is. And why I'm not concerned with giving away the secret of where this data comes from, because you can't do anything with it unless you actually analyze it, which is the hard part. Okay. But that's the end of this video. Shoot me a DM if you want access to this Google Doc. And the next video, we will be talking about how we actually extract this data so we can use it in analysis and reporting. Thanks.